Hi there. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Follow Your Passion podcast. I'm your host, Erwin Wils. I'm a mindset and business strategist and founder of Millionaire Life Strategy. In this podcast, I'm interviewing my clients and other entrepreneurs that are following their passion and make a good living out of it. When you want to know more about me or what I can do for you, check out my website, millionaireLifestrategy.com. But first, check out this episode of Follow Your Passion. Hi everybody, welcome to a new episode of Follow Your Passion. Let me introduce my guest. It's Genevieve Piturro. Genevieve was a successful television marketing executive until she dramatically changed the direction of her life. In 2001, a question of a 6-year-old girl changed her life forever, and she jumped off the corporate ladder. She founded the national nonprofit Pajama Program, and this year the program celebrates its 21st anniversary, having delivered more than 7 million magical gifts of new pajamas and new books to children through their 63 chapters across the US. She's now a professional speaker and purpose consultant, a best-selling author, and has made her appearance in numerous local and national media, such as CNN, Forbes, Oprah, The Wall Street Journal, and many more. Hi, Genevieve. Welcome.
Thank you for this invitation.
Yeah. So let's take it to 2001. This question of the 6-year-old that changed your life forever. Could you tell us about the situation and what that question was?
Yes. I was in the corporate world for 12 years when I thought this crazy workaholic life, even though it was exciting, seemed empty. One afternoon I heard a question. I questioned myself, if this is the next 30 years of my life, is this enough? And I heard that deep in my soul, and I realized it was just a job. And I went to an emergency shelter because I thought I don't have children, and I think I'd like to fill my life a little bit with children. And I was single, and it wasn't really practical for me to find children anywhere else. Yeah. And I went to a shelter, and they were lovely and accommodating. Years ago, it wasn't the way it is now. You could ask to be invited in, and I went in with children's books, and I read to the children a couple of nights a week in different shelters. And when I saw one night how they were going to sleep, I just stared dumbfounded into the room, because it was a very bare room, like the shelter was pretty bare. Mm-hmm. The children were well cared for, and of course they were traumatized because the police or the social workers were bringing these children into this emergency shelter at all hours of the day and night. So they were huddled together, they were sleeping in their clothes, and they were clearly disoriented and afraid. And all I could think about was my mom giving us a bedtime that was filled with love and laughter and snacks and stories and pajamas. And these children were wearing clothes. So I asked if I could bring pajamas the next time, and I did. And while most of the children quietly took a pair of pajamas that I showed them that would fit them, there was a little girl who was so afraid of me, so afraid to take them. She was so quiet all night. Clearly something had happened to just paralyze her. And when I finally had a minute with her and her staff, and I had her touch the pajamas and see how soft they were, she asked me, "What are pajamas?"
Oh, wow.
And that really was like a knife in my heart. I could never have imagined ever hearing that question from a child. I took it so for granted that I just couldn't stop thinking about her and thinking about how many children would have asked me the same question around the United States.
Yeah. Wow. And that's when you started this nonprofit pajama program.
Well, that's when I became obsessed.
Okay.
So that was a couple of years later in 2001, after wrestling with what do I do with this, and it was just an obsession. It became a nonprofit. I made it a nonprofit in 2001.
Nice. And you've already delivered over 7 million magical gifts of new books and new pajamas to children.
Yes.
Wow.
It takes a lot of people.
Oh yeah. And then and you also said, you got 63 chapters across the US. So
Yeah, we serve every city in every state.
wow. And the fact that you have delivered over 7 million means that there's a need for it, I guess.
Yeah, sadly there is.
Yeah. Wow. Did you also add lockdown issues with the program of delivering pajamas and new books to children, or?
Well, yes, our executive director and staff had, like all of us had to figure out how to continue delivering.
Mhm.
So Pajama Program continued delivering. Our local chapters continued to deliver, in new ways. And we all had to find where the children are, how to get them to them. We couldn't
Yeah.
read in person. We have 2 reading centers. That couldn't happen. We're hoping that will happen now soon. But the pajamas continued to go out over these couple of years.
Wow. Did you remain contact with this 6-year-old that changed your life?
No, not her.
Ah.
A couple of others, but no. Those shelters are. It's difficult to keep track of where the children are because they're in an emergency state, and they stay for a few days until they can make an arrangement. So,
Okay.
and I never thought then that I'd be doing this 22 years or talking to you.
Yeah.
And it didn't occur to me till, months or a year later to start taking notes. And then I took my notes.
Yeah. And could you tell us what happens to a child when he or she receives a pajama?
Well, having witnessed it hundreds of times, I can tell you most of them are very excited. It's a gift, and they're all new pajamas and new books. So that's always a thrill for them to see a tag on it, or to open a book that's hard to open because they're the first one that's opening it. So that always brings tears to my eyes, and you see their smile, and it's a gift just for them. And it's joy. And a lot of times they put them on right away, no matter what time of day it is, no matter what they want to change, they want to put them on because they're new and they're really nice, And of course, there are times when children are afraid of strangers, don't know what to do. They're shy or afraid, like I said. And usually there's a staff or an adult with them that helps comfort them until they relax a little bit. So sometimes, we're faced with that.
I can totally imagine that, because those children has been traumatized by whatever event that happened in their life. They've lost their biological parents somehow, right, one way or the other, and so
there are different ways. Yes, there are different reasons that they are receiving our gifts and also being protected and cared for, even if they have a family member. It's not all going well.
Yeah. Wow. So you must feel very grateful to be able to add this, even though it might be shiny in their life, but to bring this little piece of happiness into their lives. It's very rewarding, I guess.
It is. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that I met that little girl and could give her one gift. And I'm so grateful to the thousands of people around the United States who also were shocked by her question and felt that, we can do this together. Because otherwise I feel like I'd be Santa Claus, by myself with a sack on my back for all these years. So I'm so grateful to so many people.
Yeah. Wow. Nice. And that book I'm seeing, that Purpose, Passion, and Pajamas, that's your best-selling book, I guess?
That's my book. That's the story, ups and downs of everything I went through and the life and leadership lessons I learned over these 20-some years.
Nice. Could you share one example of both a high and a low that you've been through and that you added to your experience that you can help others with as well?
Yes, I can. Let me see. I can share one that has both. As anyone who's changed careers or jumped into something that, they knew nothing about or wanted to do something and didn't tell anyone because they were afraid of, being looked at as a fool, like I was leaving a very good career. But this calling, this passion, and I learned later the word is purpose, just kept calling me, and I just couldn't turn away from it.
Yeah.
But as I did, and I really, I was challenging myself, and I was really letting employers down, and I knew I'd have to quit, but I have nothing to live on. So I was struggling, and I started to doubt myself and doubt what effect pajamas and books for children at night could really have. Was I making a difference? And was I wasting my time? And what could I, one person, do? And, what am I doing? How am I going to pay the bills? And I really was struggling with, these children need so much. What is a pair of pajamas in that mix? How much am I really helping? And I'm sacrificing so much, and I'm worried and sick over it. And I got a call the next day from a man who just simply said, my name is so-and-so, and I heard about what you're doing, and I want to know why, and I want to know what you think is helping, and how did you think of this, and where are you going, what shelters? And I answered him, and then I became very, very afraid and very anxious, because I didn't know why he was asking me these questions.
Mm-hmm.
And he sensed that. And he said, I'm sorry I'm frightening you, but I was a little boy in an orphanage, and I want you to know you're making a difference, because nighttime is the scariest time for us kids. We're afraid, we're alone. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know, who cares about us. We feel so alone. And I cried myself to sleep asking, where's my mommy? So I want you to know you are making a difference. And when that came out of the blue, and that was an answer to my most pressing fear. Am I making a difference? Am I doing this for any positive effect?
Wow. I'm almost getting the chills hearing that story. And it's true, sometimes people doubt how they can make a difference. And when I started my career 7 years ago and did my hypnotherapy training, I already thought, if I can only make a difference, a true impact in one life, is already worth it. You've impacted so many lives, so it's definitely worth it, Genevieve. Wow, well, wonderful.
That call did wonders for my persistence.
I can imagine that. Yeah, and isn't it strange yet beautiful how finding your purpose and your passion makes you persevere what's coming down the road, and how you are determined to make it a success?
You are absolutely right. And there are things that are unexplainable when you are on purpose. And I tell people that all the time. You'll never know miracles like you will when you follow your inner voice and you have that, focus and that laser vision. Strange things happen. Support comes when you need it the most, from the place you least expect it.
Yeah. Wow, wonderful. How was it for you to learn the entrepreneurial skills you need, even though it's not about making a profit or whatever, but you still need entrepreneurial skills to accommodate your purpose and passion, right?
Yes, it's very important to ask for help for the things you don't know how to do. That was hard for me. And I think it's hard for a lot of people, and it's hard for a lot of entrepreneurs, because we have passion by the bucketfuls, right? We have so much passion, and we are so laser focused, and we think we can do everything. We think that but passion doesn't help you when you need an attorney or an accountant. It'll help you find the right ones, but it won't give you a degree. And if you need that special help, we need to just say, okay, I know what I know what I don't know, and I'm going to have to ask, and I'm going to have to not believe I'm dumb, and I'm not going to be embarrassed, even though we are, and I'm going to ask. And, you find people want to help all the time. I mean, it's rare that someone said, no, I'm not going to help you. I think it's rare, but it's so hard for us to start to ask.
Yeah, I know. In the Netherlands, we have like this saying that says, if you're asking, you're not getting, right? And it actually means that you have to wait your turn. right?
Mhm.
And that's how we grew up. If you ask for candy, you wouldn't get it because you had to wait your turn. So somehow down the line, you get almost ashamed of asking a question. And it's also, I think it's about what other people think of you. Maybe what you said, maybe they think that, it's a stupid question or a dumb question, or they think I didn't pay attention. And that's the worst thought you could have, because when you attend a training and you don't understand something, just ask, because there are no such things as dumb questions. There are only dumb answers. I always say the only stupid question that exists is the one you didn't ask.
I agree. And it's strange because every single one of us feels that way. So you would think we would recognize that and just put it aside and ask the question, but we still carry that feeling of being ashamed and of looking dumb.
Yeah. Yet it helps if you have a great purpose like you have, because it's not about you. It's about the children, how you can help. And each question you ask is about them. And that makes it a lot easier, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. You still have to get over that initial, but when question, should I ask? But once you do, you're right. You will see that the people that understand why you're doing what you're doing, especially if it's an emotional purpose, they feel it. And even if not everybody can help you, the right people will. And those are the people that understand and you are aligned with. And that's what we have to know. There are plenty of people who will align and understand and rally for us when we share our stories.
Yeah, exactly. And so how did the local and national media help you in your program?
Well, they helped a lot, especially in the beginning, because when I would be interviewed by a local paper or a local radio or a neighboring city's radio, people would call and want to support. And that's how the chapter president concept started. People would call from a neighboring city that heard me interviewed and ask, how can I help you in my city? And I literally said one day, okay, you want to be a chapter president? And the woman on the phone said, yes, I'd love to. What do I do? And I said, I don't know. We have to figure it out. And it's true. And so many of them are still Pajama Program chapter presidents because it was a heart-to-heart connection.
Yeah, wonderful. And was there any moment that the program really took off, or has it just been growing gradually?
I'd have to say I was invited to be on Oprah. Mm-hmm. That was huge.
I can imagine.
They say the Oprah effect changes everything, and it really does. It really was incredible. It ended up airing 3 times. It's a very fun show. If you want to see it, you can go to YouTube or on my website. It's a very fun show. You can see why people felt that they wanted to help, and there's nothing else to say except she's a force to be reckoned with, and a love and a generous and a caring, compassionate woman.
Yeah. That's also the image we get when we see the show over here, indeed. So wonderful. And it's great that actually appearing there catapulted the program. So you're calling yourself also a purpose consultant. Do you assist or support other people that want to start up a nonprofit or follow their purpose, or how can you help them?
Yes, both. I have clients who are individuals who want to make a change. Some are even college students who are thinking about their career, which is a great place to start. When I was looking for a job, that's what I was looking for. Nobody ever said the word purpose. That wasn't something anybody thought would happen. Purpose was for famous people, Einstein and Deepak Chopra and Oprah. Not everybody. We were lucky to get a job and have a decent life, but that is wrong. We all have a purpose. And it's just a matter of first believing that you are here for a reason, something that you can do and alone make a difference. And second, to figure out how to bring it into your life. It doesn't have to be a dramatic jump like I made, but it definitely can be a slide into your life. So either way, I help people bring what they love, what their passion is, what they put on the back burner into their lives. And I help businesses do the same with their teams. Everyone can be on the same page with what the purpose is for their community, for their company. And also any kind of speaking to groups, I do too, to help them, if it's one group like nurses or teachers, about reigniting their purpose, or if it's a group of people who are, figuring out what to do when they retire. It doesn't matter. Everybody wants to know and believe they have a purpose and they're living it.
Ah, wonderful. And it's wonderful what you said about reigniting their purpose, because if you look at healthcare and the nurses and doctors and surgeons that work in healthcare, most of them, I would almost say there's a special kind of breed, because it takes a special person to be able to work in such a high demanding environment, helping others. And when the pressure is high, you tend to, I'm not saying lose yourself in the work, but it can become a struggle. And when you reignite their purpose, they know why they're doing what they're doing, and they start feeling the love again. And that's wonderful.
Yes, especially after these 2 years. I've spoken both in March to a group of teachers and a group of nurses, and exactly what you're saying is the case. You lose it, and it is just, it can paralyze you in so many ways, certainly emotionally. Nobody signed up to nurse that way. Nobody signed up to teach that way. And there was no support at the beginning, and you had each other. And it was, I can't imagine the emotional turmoil personally in their lives and professionally in their lives.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how it is in the US, but in the Netherlands, they're underpaid and understaffed. And they were the ones that had to get us through the lockdown, right? And it's so, yeah. So wonderful that you were able to reignite them again with their purpose, and even add a positive impact over there.
I hope so. I mean, it was a very emotional presentation together with the audience, and then after and before, one-on-one. Yeah. It was really eye-opening for me, and I hope reassuring and supportive for them.
Yeah. Well, knowing you, it will have been just that.
I hope so. Thank you.
So if you look down the road for the next 5, 10, 20 years, where do you guess that the Pajama Program will go to?
Well, it's doing really well, thank goodness. 2 years ago, I passed the baton of being the executive director to a terrific woman who is now, doing more and has a great attitude and a great feeling for it. She was the president of our board, because I wanted to write my book and to speak to people and help other people live their purpose. Because when we all do, it's better for everyone. We all can contribute to each other, to our community, to the greater good. So I think Pajama Program's on a great track. And the more exposure we get and the more that we share the story, the more support I hope will come our way, and the more children we can take off that needs pajamas list that we have that's forever long. Yeah. And, and I'm there as a founder to tell our story as much as I can, and to let people know they can do it too. They can do whatever they love.
Wow. Wonderful. So I was just wondering, is there a certain, it sounds harsh, but is there a certain age limit to the Pajama Program of?
No, all children. So that actually goes up to 18. And in some cases, if they're still in a group home, a little longer. So the teenagers always have a special place in my heart, because people think, as I did, about the little kids. And the teenagers have been through so much, and they are aware of more. And they are aware of society and of their future, where little kids aren't yet, cognizant of what could be in their future. And teenagers are very sensitive. We're sensitive when we have a loving family. I can't imagine how sensitive you are when you don't, and that the roads ahead are going to be challenging. So they always hold a very special place in my heart, and we've done special programs for them. And so it's all the way up to 18. And like I said, in some cases, a little older if they're still under the consent of the state.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to hear that it's still needed until that age, but it's wonderful that you provide this service to them and help them as well. So wonderful. You mentioned at the beginning of the interview as well that you didn't keep in touch with this little girl that asked you the question that actually changed your life in a positive way. But you noted that there are a few that you're still that you followed a little bit, and because the program is already 20 years old, so could you share an example of somebody that you reach out for a pajama and that you know that they what the current situation is of that's particular girl or boy?
Yes, absolutely. There was a little girl who I went to visit where she was living. And she was living in a communal organization which was run by nuns in New York called Our Children, HOUR Children.
Yeah.
And their parents were either incarcerated or in rehab. And these nuns cared for the children. And then when the parents were allowed to reunite with them, they facilitated that. And in many cases, took in both the parent and the child and helped them come back together. So I went to visit this place often with pajamas and books. And there was a little girl, Teresa, and I have a picture. I gave her pajamas when she was 2. And I took a picture of her holding up her pajamas. So we stayed in touch. As she got older, her place was still a place I loved and went to. And then when we opened our reading center in New York, her group would come and I'd see her, and she got older and older. And she was very special because she was growing with us, and she was very good in school. And some of our board members said when she was in high school, let's put together a college fund for Teresa. And they did. And when Pajama Program had our 15th anniversary event, I asked her, now she was 18 going to college, almost 18, if she would say a few words. Well, when I tell you that little 2-year-old to that poised young lady on the stage addressing hundreds of people about her memories all her life of Pajama Program, of the pajamas and the books, and how she felt that led to her love of reading and staying in school and now wanting to go to college, she had the room in tears. It was amazing, and of course I have pictures, and I showed the picture of her as a little girl, and it was just, I never wanted that day to end.
I can imagine that. And it makes you feel humble as well that you were a part of her journey, actually, and that you provided some positivity into her life that made her going to college as well.
Well, maybe, but I can tell you she gave me a lot more than I think I gave her.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But it's also, again, it validates that you made the right choice back then about following your purpose, and having those wonderful moments with Teresa, like you said, it makes it all worth it, right?
Absolutely. I've had several moments. That's very special because of the length of time that we've been together with her. But there have been, moments along the way that are both heartbreaking and heartwarming because of the situation that they're in, and because of how much they so desperately want to be loved and want a gift that's theirs. And just that moment of handing it to a child, not just me, our volunteers, our staff, we are, I've had to hide because I have tears rolling down my eyes from a small gesture, and I don't want the children to be concerned or to see me. It's just a life full of heart to heart connections.
Wow. I can only imagine how that feels. But it's wonderful, where we tend to focus a lot on ourselves, being more egocentric, so to speak, but the moment you start helping others and make those heart-to-heart connections, I would almost say it's the next level of living, and that's wonderful to be in such a service-oriented state.
I didn't know any of this, and it just unfolded daily. And that's why I had written about the lessons, both life and leadership lessons, because anybody could have done this, what I did, if you've lived a totally opposite life than you lived before. And it's even more exciting when you didn't know what to expect and it turned out this way. I pinch myself and I look around and I see and I hear from people in my life, and I just compare it to what I was doing before. And it's very different. And I thank God every day I listen to my inner voice.
Yeah, wonderful. So, can you even imagine how you were 22 years ago before you went on this wonderful journey you're on right now?
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember the workaholic feeling. I remember the excitement. It was very exciting for a young woman, to be traveling with a corporate credit card, to have that life when all you knew was your goal was that, and you were nearing your goal. So that's all I knew. So to not know what the meaning and purpose of your life is, or that you even have potential to feel and realize that, it can be very exciting to have a life like I had. And it was. Yeah. But the moment that I sat on the floor the first night with those children in the shelter, I knew what I was feeling was different. People say grounded. I say heart connection. It was unlike any other, hour I'd ever spent. The bond, and they didn't say anything. The children were quiet. They didn't tell me who they were, why they were there. I couldn't be told that, but I just knew was like my soul was hungry for it. And I had this water right there that was feeding me. And I would never have known that. I didn't know there was another way when I was leading that exciting life.
Yeah. Yeah. How did does your close by family support you in your mission, I would almost say, or did you also get some reluctance on the way?
Well, for a long time I didn't tell anyone.
Okay.
Because what do I say? I had a mortgage. I couldn't even get the words. I tried to think what I say. I'm thinking about leaving my job and giving pajamas to children all day, every day. That sounded ridiculous. Yeah. And I was a responsible woman and I had responsibilities, and I was the oldest of 4 kids in my family. And, my parents were proud that I was accomplished. I couldn't tell anyone. And then when I did, which was a long time, I rehearsed it. And I told a woman who was also a career woman, but not in my career, because I didn't want a chance she would tell someone.
Yeah.
She almost laughed at me. She said, "What? Why would you do that? How are you going to get paid? You can't make any money. What do you think you're doing giving them pajamas? You're not giving them a house. Why don't you do this on Saturdays?" And I said, "Well, that's why I'm not telling anyone." I had no answers. I didn't know how I'd pay my bills. But I got myself up off the floor, and I got brave enough. I met a great guy, and I said, I better tell him, because he's going to think we're going to have a 2-income relationship here. And I don't know what my income is going to be, if it's going to be anything.
Yeah.
And when I told him, he felt my heart, and he said, "Go for it." And so did my mother say the same thing. She said, "You'll figure it out. Just go for it." And I did. I finally said, okay, that's the trick. You get your cheerleaders before you get your naysayers.
Yeah. And isn't it wonderful that it's such a hurdle to take, but once you have taken it, that the others are supportive to that, and because I think they can feel the energy as well and the passion when you talk about it, it shows.
Yes. And, like I said before, not everybody is going to get it. Not everybody, but you don't need everybody. You find the people that are part of, your soul group, if you want to say.
Yeah.
And that's all you need. You just need those people to lift you up when somebody else looks at you like, why would you do that?
Yeah. Wonderful. So I think because it's such a passionate subject, we can talk for hours on this. Do you have maybe a last tip or a little piece of wisdom you would like to share with the audience?
I used to think, and this is one of my favorite lessons that I learned. I used to agree when people used to say, oh, look at the power of one. I used to hear people's stories in career and personal, how they came through great adversity and changed things. The power of one's amazing. And when I started and Pajama Program was growing, people would say that to me. Oh, look, you're one person. Look what the power of one can do. I can tell you years later now, it is not the power of one that changes things. It's the power of one another that moves mountains and moves people. And that is the number one lesson that I want to share. I want to tell anyone who's listening and watching. None of us has power of one that can do anything worth what as a team we can do together.
Yeah, wonderful. I think indeed that it needs a little adjustment. The power of one, it only takes one person to start. But if you want to continue the journey, you need others in your surroundings to help you, to support you, to do the things you can't do everything by yourself. Right. So wonderful. So if people want to know more about you or the Pajama Program or the other services you deliver, how can they reach out to you? Where can they find you?
Sure. For me and reaching out to me, it's my website, GenevievePiturro.com. And my email is Gen, at GenevievePiturro.com. And for Pajama Program, it's pajamaprogram.org.
I could have thought it myself. Wonderful. That shouldn't be so hard to remember. I want to thank you, Genevieve, for being my guest today. It's a wonderful purpose you have found, and you're doing amazing work with it. I wish you all the best, and let's keep in touch.
I'd love it. And thank you for letting me share my story.
I hope you liked this episode. Make sure to check out the other episodes, because each one is filled with interesting and inspiring stories and energy. Are you following your passion as well and make a good living out of it? Contact me and you could be my next guest. Would you like to follow your passion but are not there yet? Check out my website millionaireLifeStrategy.com and book an appointment to discover what I could do for you. Don't forget to share the podcast with your friends so that they get inspired as well.